Welcome to the More Perfect Union, the podcast that offers real debate without the hate. I'm Kevin Kelton, along with my good friends Greg Matusak.
Hey, Kevin. I'm a little slow today. I spent all day binge watching a series, staying away from news. I'm calling it the American thing to do. Okay.
And Ward Anderson is with us tonight. Hi, Ward.
The Thanksgiving family member of the More Perfect Union podcast. You want him there. You have to invite him. You're happy to see him. And then after a while, you're like, not till next year.
And his pants are open by the end of it. So, and joining us again tonight, she was with us once this past summer, my good friend Linda Norrie. Welcome back, Linda.
Hi, thank you. Great to be back.
And to remind everybody, Linda is, how would you describe yourself? You're sort of an entrepreneur. You've got some background in the financial world.
Yeah, I guess that's it. I came from corporate America, decided that I had enough of that and started opening my own businesses. So I have a couple of different businesses. So I'd say I was an entrepreneur. I think that's a great way to describe me.
Okay.
Started out as a single mother bartending, went back to college, became a corporate person, and now I'm back to being an entrepreneur.
Very good. So we're going to jump into it tonight with something that happened just last night, which is there was a heavyweight championship fight, and apparently somebody won. Greg, why is this news?
Well, it's not news. I mean, these things happen all the time. It's news to you because I bet you can't even name either of the fighters, can you?
Well, up until today, when I heard a report about the fact that a guy named Tyson Fury won, and he's been the heavyweight champion now for quite a while, I imagine. I'd never heard of him. And no, I can't name the person that he beat.
Yeah, it was a long fight, 11 rounds. Tyson Fury won a knockout. I mean, it was devastating, and I can't believe I can't think of the person he beat. Oh my goodness,
Deontay Wilder.
No, thank you. I knew Linda would know because she's the one, the brutish one of us.
That's right.
But it's not like when we were kids and they would show boxing, and there's so much more MMA. And now if you ask kids who their favorite boxer is, it's Jake Paul.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay, that's supposed to get gasps from some people. And now
Just
everyone's like,
for
who's
anyone
Jake Paul?
who may not know, this is a guy that started out as what we now call an influencer. He was a YouTube sensation, a real jerk, in my opinion, and then he got into boxing, right?
Yeah. Ward, do you know Jake Paul personally?
Personally, no. But I mean, obviously, I've followed the legend of Jake Paul. I thought when I heard he was boxing, I just thought it was like a
stunt,
a charity stunt thing. They would raise money, would get attention, whatever. And then to find out that he could actually do it and won, you know what I mean? Like that baffled me because I was like, oh, I thought it was like celebrity boxing on Fox. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think it was a real thing.
My favorite celebrity match ever was Danny Bottaducci and Barry Williams. By far, it was like my entire childhood come clashing to each other.
Yeah. So let's talk about the real news of the week. Everybody this week was talking about the great Satan. And of course, I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about Facebook. Apparently, Facebook is now the devil incarnate because a woman named Frances Hogan, who was actually quite impressive, testified in front of Congress. So first of all, who here saw it and who here has an opinion about the revelations that came out?
Yeah, I saw it. And it's hard to say that they're revelations because it can be boiled down to that Facebook cares more about money than people. And if anyone thought differently, then they're I mean, seriously, that was what she said. And that they were willing to put people's lives in danger. Did anyone see The Social Network? I mean, that was pretty much her testimony that, gosh, they just don't care. I could see like their board meeting saying, you know what's cool? 1 billion Nazis. That's cool. I mean, that was probably like their big board meeting. Like, yeah.
Linda, what was your take?
It's so funny because this coincided, I don't know if coincidentally or not, with the HBO series 15 Minutes of Shame. And I just happened to watch that last night before I even knew I was going to be talking to you all tonight. And they said, when's the last time you paid to be on Facebook? You don't, right? So how do they make their money? How is the richest person in history making money on an app that nobody pays for? It's because, and this is kind of a quote from that documentary, addicted, outraged, and polarized people guarantee that money is going to be generated. So I think you might have been living under a rock if you didn't realize that people who own these websites aren't making money somehow, and that's how they make money, from taking all this information that people provide with certain catchphrases and words and spitting them back out.
Yeah. And if there's a way to maximize profits, they will try to maximize
They're going to do it.
Now, Ward, I don't believe you've ever heard of or been on Facebook, right?
Not lately.
So I got a 30-day ban on Facebook for quote unquote bullying anti-vaxxers. And this is something that actually pisses me off about Facebook. And it's not actually about Facebook, it's about their algorithm, as we call it. I will really quickly say I agree with and reiterate what everyone has said here, but what Greg just said was no surprise. The whistleblower didn't reveal anything. She confirmed everything. She confirmed
Correct.
what all of us already knew or suspected, whatever. But the thing about it is, I got a 30-day ban for quote unquote bullying anti-vaxxers. And what did I say that was quote unquote bullying anti-vaxxers, everybody? I said they were being cowardly, that it's not brave to not get the vaccine, that heroes don't let other people go first. They go first. And there's nothing heroic about avoiding the vaccine. And I got banned for saying, truthfully, you just don't want to admit your chicken shit. And chicken shit got me banned for 30 days. And I actually laughed when I got the ban in a lot of ways, because I go, that wasn't a person that decided that. That was literally just an algorithm, saw words and went, this guy's out, right?
Yeah.
So it's clear that Facebook has an algorithm that's going to ban you for certain words, but boy, they want you to fight. They want you to fight. They want you arguing.
Yeah.
And that's my issue with all of this, is that I'm not surprised, but I'll also say this. I think Facebook is great. I think it's a great thing. It's helped me reconnect with people that I haven't seen in many years. It's helped me make a lot of new friends and connections. It has helped me to keep track of. Yes, it's helped, including us. I would not know Kevin or Greg, but I mean, like, I wouldn't have known the many people that I'm friends with, or I wouldn't have connected with people that have seen me live or on television or whatever. So right. I think Facebook is wonderful. I think it's a great thing.
I agree.
That being said, it's got a lot of problems, and its problems stem from its unabashed quest for all the effing money. And so is it a great thing? Yes, It's a great thing. But just like I can look at the Marvel movies as a great thing that have made mistakes, I can look at Facebook that way too. And it's a great tool that, unfortunately, because of its quest to make more money, it's got a lot of effing problems.
Okay. Well, first of all, I totally agree with what you just said. So I second that. Hi, this is Kevin, and I want to ask a favor of you. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you probably enjoy it. And so if you do, I want to ask you to go to iTunes and write a review of us. Hopefully a positive review, but write a review that reflects the show that we've been doing for the last few months. A lot of our reviews there are from the old cast, or from people who were missing the old cast when we first transitioned. So it would be great to get some updated reviews. And even if you've written a review in the past, write a new one that talks about the show with me, Ward, Greg, Linda, and the other great people that we've been having on over these last several months. It would really help us out, and I thank you for listening. I want to touch on a couple of things that came up this week specifically. The first thing I heard them talking about is that Facebook makes people, and specifically younger, often teenage females, feel bad about themselves Because, as I understand it, this is the argument that I understood. There are so many ads that use thin models, and females, young females on Facebook see those thin models, feel that they don't compare favorably or equally to them, and therefore adopt bad dietary habits. Now, I'm reading an article about this in the New York Times, right? And anyone who's read the New York Times knows when you read it online that about every 3 paragraphs, it's broken up by a little advertisement. And as I'm scrolling through this article about the evil Facebook empire, because they have these ads depicting thin models, Linda, what do I see in the ad? An ad with a thin blonde model.
And I really, truly don't think 20-year-old girls are on Facebook. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure they are, but I think it's more Instagram.
Which Facebook owns.
Which Facebook owns, correct.
Facebook owns. But I will say this really, really quickly. One of the other things about Facebook that they're saying is that so many of these changes and so much of this turn in how Facebook approaches things. For instance, remember, there used to be the argument that Facebook was anti-conservative or whatnot, which, by the way, all the numbers show it's not. It's actually more favorable to conservatives than it is to liberals. But that is because Facebook became the location for boomers.
Exactly. I want to mention some names. Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter,
Yes.
Tumblr, Whisper, LiveMe, GroupMe, Discord, and probably a dozen other platforms.
And
that
how
I can
about all the
guarantee
dating
you,
apps?
The people in Congress will never hear of these platforms. And yet they're focused on Facebook. I have teenagers, or now kids in their 20s. Greg, you have actual teenagers.
I
Linda,
do.
you have a 24-year-old son. You know, young people generally, not everybody, but generally are not on Facebook. Yes, they're on Instagram sometimes, but they're much more on these other platforms. I think that the congressional committees are out of touch with how social media is really being used by the people that they profess to want to help. Yes, Ward.
There's something I started working on years ago, and I've never put it to paper, but I've always wanted to, and I call it the princess paradox. For generations, there was the princess, right? Raising women to be princesses. One day, your prince is going to come along. He's going to save you, make you happy, and you're going to live happily ever after, and he's going to protect you and take care of you. You don't have to look back very far to see that. I imagine Linda could tell us in her lifetime that was something that was probably said to her in her childhood or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
That never actually went away. My daughters still love princesses. My oldest daughter, when she graduated, they actually do that, graduated from kindergarten, cap and gown and everything. When they came up and accepted their diploma, which is written in crayon, they gave them a mic and said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And each of those kids got to say what they wanted to be. And, kids know 5 jobs, fireman, doctor, whatever. And my daughter said princess. And it was this, oh, kind of moment. And yet, at the same time, we've raised our daughters to say, you can be anything that a man can be. You are equal to a man. You deserve equal pay. You deserve all these things. We send mixed messages to our daughters, to our girls, where we're still sending them the messages of men to take care of them, to romance them, princes that will change their lives and make everything better, and all of that. Be a good mother, be a good cook, be a good wife, all these things, while also saying you don't need men. You don't need any of that. You got yourself and all that. We are confusing the shit out of our kids, out of our girls. We tell them they are beautiful no matter how they look, and all the magazines they have and everything they look at tells them they have to look a certain way. So no wonder they're all anxiety and depressed, and they feel triggered and everything like that, because they're getting every message in every single direction while still being fed the same shit they've been fed for 100 years about being thin, being good cooks, being good wives, being a princess, and some man out there will take care of you.
So is it okay if I respond to that, Kevin?
Yeah.
Because I don't disagree with you, Ward, at all, but I do think that it's gotten better. So I think that, it's not bad that your daughters want to be princesses. What's bad is that they think they need a prince to be a princess, right?
That's where my wife and I come in, right?
That's exactly where you come in. So that's what I'm going to say. But what I was going to say was, I think that's gotten better over the years. Like we've got now Disney princesses of color, right? Moana and Mulan, and that's been really helpful.
And they're badass, and they're
badass, and they're fighting.
They solve the problems on their own.
Right, they're not helpless. Yes,
that's right. Even Elsa and Anna, Frozen, right? Her true love was her sister.
My daughter's favorites are Frozen because they do everything themselves.
Correct, right? So I think it's not that it's bad that your daughter wants to grow up to be a princess. I think it's bad that that if they are required to have a prince to be a princess, right? So I think that goes back to how you're raised, and I'm going to tell you, I think it even goes back to dads or father figures and men figures telling their daughters from a very early age that they're beautiful, that they're strong, that beauty comes in multiple colors. Seeing moms as an example of that, being strong and independent. I mean, I always told my daughters, I absolutely want you to marry your prince, but I want you to earn your own living, and I want you to own your own things. And I want you, I don't want your prince to be someone that has to support you monetarily. Or I think that goes back to our responsibilities as parents. And I'm going to even go further and say fathers and father figures and men in their lives that just hold these women up to believe in themselves and who they are. I think it's getting better. When I was growing up, it was a skinny, twiggy, size 0 Jordache jean model, right? Now we have plus size models.
Yes.
And by the way, we do this with boys too.
100%. Okay?
It's just a different topic for a different time. We're still sending the mixed messages, because if you pick up Teen Vogue, Insta People, I mean, there's just so many magazines out there that cater to women, where we're still sending the mixed messages of, you can do anything, you can be anything, you can have whatever you want, you're equal to men, while also still selling these archaic sexist roles. We're still doing that, right? We're still sending out the messages of, you'd better be thin to get a husband. You better be this to get a blah, blah, blah. Men should make more money than the woman should make. You need a man who's going to take care of you. We're still doing that. And you still see that in these magazines and all that. So it's not just Facebook or Instagram. We as a society are clinging to archaic sexist gender roles, while also saying that they aren't real and we need to get away from them.
Let's see.
I can say this. Look at it this way. My ex and I, this is a woman I dated years ago, but my ex and I met, and I was doing very well in my career, but I had not taken the dive into entertainment. I still had a very high paying sales job while I was trying to make it in entertainment. Okay. She was unemployed when we met. Okay. And I practically supported her for about a year. And then I went off and pursued my dream, and my income dropped dramatically. She got a high paying job and her income shot up. I cannot tell you how many friends of hers joked about what a loser I was because she made more money than I did. And it became this kind of joke. And look, I need to preface this by saying, I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. And it didn't matter. But I noticed that it was a funny joke and that she would comment on it. And it would be a thing where I just went, can you imagine if we joked about how she made less money than me and that made her pathetic somehow, or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I said, here we are celebrating her for having a job where she makes so much money, which is great. She makes a lot of money doing a job that women used to never be able to even do. Holy shit, that's great. While at the same time telling her, isn't it kind of sad the job your husband does or your boyfriend doesn't make as much money? Shouldn't he be making more than you? Why would that possibly be a message we're still sending? And yet people still do it all the time, men and women. And this is what I mean by we're confusing our girls because we've held on to these archaic, sexist, chauvinistic gender roles while then also telling them that they don't apply.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Linda.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I made considerably more money than my husband. And when I had my last son was a surprise. And we had both decided that since I was on a career path, he was going to be a stay-at-home dad and I was going to go off and do what I do. Right. I can't tell you how many times he had oh, your wife supports you. Oh, you're so lucky. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times that I would be getting some kind of accolade. And I always made it a point. Anytime I was given credit for anything, whether it was publicly, whether we were out to dinner with friends, and it came up to say, I couldn't do what I do. I couldn't be as successful as I was if I didn't have a partner. We made these decisions together. And the reason I'm saying this is that I don't know because, my daughters are both very successful individuals. They both make as much or more than their spouses. They're strong women. I don't know if that's because they saw their mom doing that. So we didn't have that whole, gender thing. But I'm going to say that, yes, I agree with you, Ward, that it still happens. But I also think that, again, I've seen the shift a little bit because I don't know if it's the cost of living. I don't know that, both parents now are working in the household. Yeah. So they're sharing child rearing responsibilities. They're sharing these responsibilities that might have been typically the, 50s housewife responsibilities. Now there's a generation that are being raised by moms that did work or dual income families. So they're accepting it more. I see a shift, but I agree with you, Ward. It's not there. Women are still not getting the pay that they deserve. They're still not getting the accolades they deserve. There's still a whole bunch of shit in the workplace. I came from a very male dominated industry where I was the only female with hundreds of other men in the room. I lived that whole Me Too movement. So I get it. I've seen a shift. Are we there? We're not there. Are we getting there? Are we getting better? We're getting better. And I just feel hopeful.
We set up our daughters for disappointment. Okay. Because we give them this expectation that they deserve all of this. And at the same time, they deserve all of this. And they're conflicting is what I'm saying. It's telling them in one breath that they're going to meet a man that makes more money than them, that takes care of them, that makes their lives wonderful. And then telling them in the next breath, they don't need that. And it's unrealistic expectations. And no wonder our daughters have anxiety about how they look and about, what they do for a living and everything, because now we're making them do everything. It used to be many, many years ago, their job was to find a man and be a good wife and mother, right? Now we're still doing that, but we're adding to that they don't need that, and they can also blah, 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 blah.
I don't know if we're still doing that. I don't know if I 100%
Linda, we
agree with
are,
that
though.
statement.
But we are. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. You will never see men have to defend the fact that they're also a dad when talking about their careers. Women have to do that. They have to go, I have this career, blah, 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 and I'm also a wife and mother. And let me tell you how great I am at that. We make them have to defend these things, right? And it's because we expect everything of them because we haven't changed. We've added to the things they should expect or can expect in life to the things that we've always told them before. We didn't take one away. We just added to it.
I am not telling my daughters the things that we've always been telling them. I don't believe that I'm telling my daughters the same things that my father even told me, quite frankly, or my mother's parents told her. I think that's changing. Do I think it still happens? Do I think it's still out there? I don't think it's as predominant as it used to be. But to your point, I also think women are putting a lot of pressure on themselves. And I don't necessarily think it comes from men. Sometimes I think it comes from other women. You have to be a good mother. You have to be a businesswoman. You have to be, you have to. So I guess what I'm saying is as a mom, and I was a single mom for a while, and then I was a businesswoman mom who traveled a lot and I was gone a lot. I had a lot of guilt coming up in my career.
Sure.
I remember, my daughters are now 36 and 34, 30, something like that. Anyway, I remember,
Really?
when they were old enough. Yes.
You have 30-something-year-old daughters?
I do. 37 and 35. I remember
Kevin
though,
and Greg, you guys can just leave. Linda and I are going to talk. Really?
I do.
Wow.
So I remember saying to them,
I'm only
when they were,
30 years old.
Well, I adopted them when I was, I don't know. Anyway. What I'm saying is,
Here's the other difference, though, is my daughters are 8 and 4, right? So I've got a different perspective because I'm watching. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
So what I'm saying is, I remember sharing a bottle of wine with them and saying to them, "I wish I could have been a better mother. I'm sorry,
Me
I
too.
wasn't a
My
better
daughters
mother.
are 8 and 4.
I'm sorry. I'm
and
sorry
they drank
that
most of the wine.
That's right. I'm sorry I wasn't the Betty Crocker mom. I'm sorry I didn't
bogarted
bake cookies. I'm sorry I didn't." And they were like, "What?" They were like, "Are you kidding me? You were a great mom and we don't remember you missing anything." And so what I have tried to raise my children is that guilt is bullshit. Guilt is bullshit. Whether you put it and guilt put on by other people can be ignored. The guilt that you put on yourself is the hardest guilt to ignore, right? So what I've tried to teach my daughters, and whenever I've spoken to other women groups or I've mentored other women, I've tried to say, are you doing the best that you can do? Do you love your kids? Are you making family decisions for them? Or you let go of the guilt? Just do the best that you can and take care of yourself and take care of your family.
We'll be back in a second.
I'm watching this unfold as a guy who didn't have kids until he was 40, right? And now I have 2 young daughters. And I'm also not that guy. I'm not the guy that didn't notice women or their struggles until he had daughters. I'm not that guy.
Right.
Okay. Because I know that's a guy.
I don't believe you are. I don't believe you are.
But I'll say this. It's an observation. It's me watching it happen because I go to the parents' meetings and I talk to other dads and parents and all that, and I watch it happening. It's not just our daughters. Like I said, we can talk about sons at another time. But since we're talking about daughters and I have them, I can say I'm watching this shit unfold and I'm going, it's amazing how far we've come and it's amazing how far we haven't. I don't know where I found it, but there was an article I read recently where they talked about early 20-something kids today, early 20-something adults today. If you ask them, a majority still say the man should make more money than a woman should in a relationship. Think about the fact that a majority of young people still have this belief. That is systemic. That is something we have ingrained in them that is still there. And maybe it's because some entertainment is universal and eternal, and it's just always going to be there. You know, just like we'll always watch The Wizard of Oz. We'll always have certain things that are just eternal. I don't know what it is, but we still have it all the time. Dude, I'm 48 years old, and I still have my in-laws. They would give me shit in front of my wife about making less money than her, despite the fact that at one point I made more money than her, right? Like it's, and I'm not using myself as an example like I care, but I'm just using it to show that here you have this generation doing it, and I'm watching younger generations doing it.
I do have a 20-something and 30-somethings. So I don't know if I agree with that statement. I think that women are coming out. They don't, but they are expecting to earn income like their male counterparts.
It's getting there. I'm just saying it's not there yet, and it's not fast enough. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir on that.
And what I really wanted to say, and I got off track on it, when you said women are worse towards women than other men, look, this is not misogyny. This isn't chauvinism. This isn't that. I mean this when I say I'm a feminist man, but I've always maintained that women are each other's worst enemies in many ways, because it is women and it is women's products and marketing and everything like that that pushes a lot of this. It's years ago. I remember Tyra Banks got really upset that she got mocked online for having gained weight. And she went on her show and went on and on about how dare you do this and everything. And people were like, yeah, Tyra Banks. Yeah. And I went, but Tyra Banks pushed this symbol of this is what you should look like herself for millions of dollars for many, many years, and didn't have a problem with it until she gained weight and didn't look like the model she used to be. And then suddenly found the feminist in her that went, we're all beautiful no matter what we do, blah, blah, blah. She even was a host of Next Top Model, where she told people how to diet and lose weight and be thinner, and then acted like, how dare you expect this of me, when she had been on TV telling people how to do that, right? And when I mentioned those women's magazines, all these women's magazines are not edited or run by men. All of the women's magazines that put skinny women, and not just put skinny women on the cover, but we've seen Photoshop them to be even skinnier than they really are, which is already skinny. Those are run by women. Those are run by other women. And it's a, you know, I mean, we could have the bullshit sexist talk of, oh, women are catty, always talking about, I'm not doing that, but I'm saying, if you look at so much of the things that the messages that we send to our girls and to women, it comes from women, doesn't it?
It comes from people. I mean, I think sometimes it comes from men. I think sometimes it comes from other women. Again, I think it goes back to the conversations we're having at home. And, you know, when you see something that isn't right, you have that discussion with your daughter and your son on how people should behave as human beings, you know? So I know we could have a whole another 3-hour discussion.
But you know what? This is happening now because everybody here is pretty enlightened and pretty much a feminist. Everyone here is. But we are not a majority of North America. That's all I want to say.
I just want to say this. You know how I personally know that Ward is a true feminist in the best sense? Because you were talking directly to Linda and you said, hey, dude. So to me, that tells me that you are, everyone is equal in your eyes.
You know, look, man, look. I fall into the same sexist traps that everyone does. I've done it more than once in my life and career. I've made a comment offhanded that I would make to a guy, and I've made to a woman, and thought, because I'm thinking that we're all the same or blah, 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 but it's been sexist, or it's been sexual, or it's been unfair, or it's been wrong. You know what I mean? We all have to learn, and we're all continually learning. I love the fact my daughters love princesses, and I look at them like that now, and I'll call them my sweet little princesses and all that. And then I'll also feel guilty and go, I should call them my sweet little doctors or whatever. And then I find myself stressed out over whether or not I should encourage this or that or whatever. We can all chill out a little bit when it comes to sexism and chauvinism and feminism. We can all do that and go, let's all do this and do it calmly without hating each other along the way, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's human beings being respectful to other human beings at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
So this has been a pretty good conversation, and we've got so much more. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a two-parter. We're going to say goodnight for today, for this week. We're going to come back and pick up with this topic and similar topics in the next podcast. So please remember to leave those reviews on iTunes, and we'll see you next time.